Welcome back to Father and Son Fix. In this episode, we're going to show you how to fix a broken seat bottom on an upholstered wooden chair. Let's get to it. Now, this particular seat is actually a Stakmore folding chair. And while our instructions will apply to any wooden seat with an upholstered bottom, they're especially helpful for these Stakmore chairs, which we love because of this folding mechanism. Stakmore was opened in America in 1922. We even have another older set that was built in America. They're not made in America anymore, but they're still designed here in Tennessee, and we hope that they'll come back and bring manufacturing back to the United States as well. We love the way they fold. They're really easy to carry, open up for when people come over, and we even keep them out all the time because they look good enough, and really we enjoy the convenience. And we're not sponsored in any way, but here's our story. The broken bottom of this chair, really quite an issue there. Not quite sure what happened. Seem to remember hanging up some decorations and placing a knee in the middle. And, well, this is what happened to the chair. Cratered through completely. And we've really been missing this one. It's a set of two that we got. And really been missing this second one in the set. So in this episode, we're going to show you how to remove the bottom of the seat using these screws here that we're pointing out. Then we're going to take the seat bottom off, remove the upholstery, replace it, and then show you how to reupholster it. So here we go. We can get started by removing these screws. It helps to have an electric drill, and the screws are pretty standard wood screws. Depending upon the type of chair that you have, you may have little wooden covers or other things covering the screws. So if you're having trouble getting the seat bottom off, just take a look around the entire seat a few times to make sure there's not any other screws holding it in place. And there you go. Just like that, the seat bottom comes off. And you can see how it's put together here by a lot of upholstery staples. And those upholstery staples are going right into this particle board, and we're going to need to remove all of them. There they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 12, 24, 68, 114 staples all the way around. And we're going to be replacing them all as well. So let's get to it. We've got a little small flathead screwdriver. Anything like this is good for prying the staples up. The most important thing here is that you don't want to damage the vinyl or any other fabric material that you may have on your chair. And if you've seen our 3 ways to fix a saggy couch video, you know that side cutters like this are an excellent tool for pulling out staples. They're better than pliers because you're able to get in really tight on the staple. Here's the thing, don't clip to where you break it, just apply just enough pressure to where you can pull it out with those side cutters. As we started to get into it, we developed a method here where we were prying each of the staples up slightly with the little flathead screwdriver and then using the side cutter to remove them. Now, before we go too far, we thought it would be a good idea to mark each side of the cushion. After we took the bottom off, it was pretty clear which way it went in. However, we definitely recommend this. You want to mark it in an inconspicuous area so that it makes it easy to put it all back together when you're replacing the bottom. Or if you're reupholstering, adding new foam, any of those things where you need to take the bottom cover off and put it back on. So here we go, and this is the method where we worked out, as you can see, just prying up each of those slowly and carefully. We're certainly fast forwarding through all this. As you pry each one up, then carefully take it out, and we're building a generous pile of staples here. And that is just about it. One more to go here, and we'll take out this last staple. And there you have it. Pretty simple. Patience prevails. Take your time. Helps to have some good music or something playing in the background. maybe a podcast, whatever you like, and just get to it, and there they are. It's a lot of staples. Okay. We thought this was excessive, but when we put it back together, we seem to agree that it's better to have more than less in that situation, and you wind up with about that many. So let's get the tools out of the way, and let's get a look at what we're dealing with as far as the damage. And it's not going to be worth trying to repair this particle board. As you'll see here, it's just cracked all the way through and all the way to the corner. There's no sense in trying to patch this or anything like that. You just want to replace it entirely. And so what we're looking at here really is sort of like, well, what's the thickness of the board and what's the best material that we want to use to replace it. And rather than particle board, we're probably going to go with some sort of plywood. But before we do that, let's take off the Stakmore tag here. And we're going to hold on to that so that we can put it back on when we're finished up. All right. So, as we mentioned, really what you want to look for as you're looking for a replacement seat bottom is something that's going to match the thickness. Weight is a consideration as well. You want it to be a strong material. So in our case, we recommend some plywood. It's probably going to be the best solution for you. Leave a comment down below what types of materials you would recommend for using. And as we are looking at this in terms of the shape we need to cut out, a circular saw is probably not going to be best. A jigsaw is going to be the best tool to handle this. And so we're going to walk you through here a few things about jigsaws to make it easier for you. First of all, jigsaw blades come in different types. You have your fast cut, which is a bigger tooth, less teeth, and then your smooth cut, which is more teeth that are smaller. And so once again, larger teeth, that means it's going to cut faster but more rough. In our case, that should be sufficient because we're not really going to have any exposed edges. Not really going to need the fine one for our situation. So as we mentioned, larger teeth, that's a faster, rougher cut. Smaller teeth, that's going to be a smoother cut, but not really something that we're too concerned about. In our case, because it's going to be hidden underneath the upholstery. If it was a finished edge that was going to show, that's where you really want to use that smooth cut blade. But this is all going to be hidden underneath the upholstery. Better to cut it faster, get it done with. And as you'll see, it doesn't really relieve that much of a rough cut, and we'll be sanding the edges anyway. So now to put a blade in, you're going to use a little hex tool here. And that's just to loosen the set screw on the blade for the jigsaw. And of course, the jigsaw is unplugged throughout all of this. You want to be careful when you're handling any power tools. And now we want to make sure when we put the blade in that it's aligned center and that it's fully in. See that? Now it's fully in there to where the set screw can really grab a hold of it. You don't want your blade flying away from you while you're sawing away at the wood there. So make sure that's in. Make sure it's not nice and straight, not at any sort of angle forward or backward or side to side. And then you're going to get your hex tool or your chuck, which if we had it on ours, we would be able to use it. But for some reason that wandered away over the years, and not quite sure why that happens. If that's happened to you or you've had other small accessories wander away over the years, let us know down in the comments where you think those things go. We often wonder about that. Lost but to be found or never found. Now here's a quick note. When you're getting ready to cut the wood, and we're using plywood in this case, which we recommend, those stripes there are going to show you the edge that was cut at the mill, which is usually more straight than the other edges, especially even if you cut it at home, you've done a really good job. That, if you want to call it factory edge or that mill edge, is going to be very straight. So look for the straight side of the piece. In our case, the back side of the seat has more of a bow. This front side's pretty straight here. And so that's what we're going to align. We're going to align that front side with that milled edge there. And that's what we're going to use as our reference point, and we're going to move it as close to the edge as possible so that we don't lose that much material and we conserve as much of this plywood as we can for another project. So here we're just outlining it in pencil. Nothing too serious here. Of course, once you get started sawing, use PPE, glasses, mask, gloves, always be safe. And here we're showing you in fast motion, but even though it's a fast cutting blade, we're not really moving this fast. We're going to slow it down for you in a moment just to show you the actual speed of which we're cutting at here. So let's just give it a moment here and then you'll see what we're saying. So that's the actual speed at which you're going to cut. And you don't want to force it. You want to take your time. Always let the tool do the work. Don't try and apply undue amounts of pressure or anything like that to get it to go faster or cut better or anything like that. Let the tool do the work. Use your strength to align and guide the tool. And that's what power tools are for, to amplify our strength, not to make us work harder or try and force it through there. So enough of the philosophy of power tools. Back to the task at hand here, and we're just looking here after our first cuts, aligning it up to the old piece to see how it did, and it just came a little bit off on that one edge there with the cut. And so we're just going to come back with the jigsaw again and just cut off a little bit of that edge. You know, you have to kind of be careful with this. If it's a small enough piece that you can't, if it's like more or less than a blade's width, then it's better sanding it off, and you know, maybe 2 blades widths. Beyond that, then you can try and cut a small sliver off, but be careful of doing that, and sometimes you have mixed results. Sometimes it's better just to sand it back. In any event, here we are showing you just how to sand the edge. You can sand it by hand like this, or you can use a palm sander or another tool like this, which is just going to speed it up and make your life a lot easier. We're not really sanding this edge to get any sort of finished edge. Again, it's going to be hidden underneath the upholstery. What we're doing here is sanding it to prevent any fraying from the board at those edges and any pieces of the board that may stick out noticeably different into the foam. So this is not a finishing job here so much as it is just cleaning up these edges to make sure that they fit nicely underneath the upholstery, don't poke through, and the wood doesn't sort of delaminate at those edges because it is plywood. Alright, so we've got that done. Now let's get our comparison again here. And the width, as we noted, we were fortunate we had this plywood left over from another project, and this is the 1/2 inch, which is actually, I believe, 3/8 is the actual measurement of it. But it's going to be a lot stronger than the particle board in this situation, and it's going to be enough with the frame of the chair to work well. Just try and match the thickness and the quality of the material that you're replacing in your chair. And those edges, while they're not perfect, aren't too shabby, and we're pretty happy with that. And the fit, we know, is going to be enough to match. We're not going here. It's not the Mona Lisa. We're not going crazy. It's not a $10,000 live edge table. We're just fixing the bottom of this chair and doing it in a way that we're satisfied with the quality, and we know that it's not going to be noticeable once it's all put back together. And also, more importantly, it's going to stand the test of time. Now to take the blade out, of course, make sure the jigsaw is unplugged, and that's all you're going to need to do there is just unscrew the set screw and take that blade out. Always put your tools away as you're working. That's another safety tip. If you're done using it, then you can put it away. Keep it away from, keep it out of harm's way, I guess, is what we're saying. All right, so here we are cleaning off the foam and getting ready to place it back in. And pretty happy with the match that we got there, the size and everything. And there's just some pieces of the particle board that we just wanted to clean off before we put this back together. If you were replacing foam or upgrading foam, this is where you'd be adding it at this point. In our case, we're just replacing this broken seat bottom. The foam seems to be doing well enough. So in terms of deciding which side to put facing up, again, it's not about visual aesthetics so much as the smoothness. So the other side, not having the knots, we place that facing what will be facing up or facing towards the upholstery. That way we are hoping for a smoother feel across, no noticeable bumps or undulations in the upholstery once it's applied. As it comes to cutting, they say measure twice and cut once. Same applies here. Take your time aligning this as much as you need to in this initial stage before you put in your first staple to start reupholstering. So what we're doing here is we're getting it nice and aligned, and also considering, okay, where on the chair are these edges going to be? How are the corners going to close for each of these edges? Does that leave us enough material to put a staple there on that side, and vice versa on the other side? That's going to help us make sure that it's aligned and centered. We're not, this is going to be the bottom of the chair. A lot of it's going to be hidden by the frame. We're not going for aesthetics here so much as making sure that the alignment is centered. We're going to be able to secure the material as good as possible, and there's not going to be any noticeable undulations. Now, in this case, the front of the chair, we wanted to make sure there is plenty of foam from the front, and this is the back of the chair there that we're adjusting now. We wanted to make sure right there at the front there was going to be plenty of foam, because that's where the back of the leg would actually contact the chair most often. And so we just wanted to give it a little bit more foam in that area, make sure that that was going to have plenty of foam. And now we're checking on the other side to make sure everything looks nice and smooth. There's no tucks or pinched material or anything like that. Everything looks nice and smooth and even, which is what we're going for. Now back to the stapling. You're going to want to have some gloves and glasses, just to be on the safe side. And here we've got an electric stapler. Really convenient tool to use for a lot of around the house projects. And of course, in this reupholstery scenario, it's the ideal tool. You can do it by hand. There are hammer staplers and other ways you can do it by hand, but the electric one is just going to speed your life up quite a bit. Okay, there goes the first one. And what we're trying to do is line these staples up pretty much next to each other. We aren't trying to go back into the holes that were left by the previous staples, but we're making sure that we're leaving enough room in the material and enough material around the staple so that it provides a secure fit. As we got into it here, we started to develop a little bit of a rhythm, and it was making it easier. You can kind of hear that a little bit with the hits of the staples. Of course, as you go along, check on the other side to make sure everything's still nice and lined up. One of our concerns coming into this was the corners and how we were going to deal with those. Of course, right as we got up to the corner, we ran out of staples, which is okay because that gives us a good chance to show you which staples that we're using here. And we're using 1/4 inch or 6mm staples. We're not sponsored by this brand. This is just what we recommend, and that worked well for our application, essentially matching what was there previously. And this is how you load staples into a staple gun. Of course, it's unplugged during this time, and you just slide them in there like that, facing up. Really not much to it. You don't need to load them in any special way into the cartridge or anything like that. Of course, follow the instructions for your particular staple gun, but for our situation, we have a basic staple gun, and that's just how it works. Now these corners, what we found is folding the ears together like this, if you would call it like that, tucking one side under, creating an ear, then tucking the other side under and creating an ear, is what worked best for us to get these corners tightened up. Here's another tip. Before you finish stapling the corner completely, come around to the other edge so that while you're working with that corner piece of fabric, you're not expecting to hold that entire edge in place. If you put a couple staples on the other edge before you staple that corner down, it's going to make life a little bit easier because the edge will already be in place and really you're just dealing with that corner fabric material. You're not trying to secure the next edge and do the corner all at the same time. And as you can see here, it is a little bit fiddly. We're not experts by any means, and we had a little bit of trial and error working with some of these corners. It wasn't that much of a challenge, though. We just kept moving on until we felt that they were secured. And here's another great thing to show you. Staples get jammed. It happens to the best of us. And sometimes it's just the manufacturing process or how one is holding the staple gun. Or who knows, the quality and age of the staple gun just happens. Unplug the staple gun, take the staples out, remove the bent or stuck staple, then load the staples back in, and you're off to the races again. And as we started to go here, we really started to develop a rhythm. One thing you may want to consider here is because you're putting in hundreds of staples. We didn't take a full count. If someone wants to run the count and leave us a comment down below, that would be great. We did not count all the staples. There was a lot. And so if you're doing this in a small space, or even if you're doing it at all, you may want to wear ear protection. That's the other thing we're going to mention. Or have some loud music playing in the background, whatever works best for you to help you not concentrate on the noise or feel that the noise of the staple gun is bothering you. All right, so here we are coming right down to the end here, and this is what it sounds like in real time there, or one stapler or one staple at a time. So there you have it. And it looks pretty smooth. We're pretty happy with the results and how that turned out there. Looking at the edges, making sure there's no ruffles or pinches or tucks or anything. Everything looks really nice and smooth on all the edges, and we're really happy with that. So as a finishing touch, we're going to go back on with that Stakmore label, and deciding on where to place it, we thought, you know what, rather than right in the middle, why don't we cover up that knot? And because it's a folding chair, you're going to see the bottom, and there's no reason why we can't put the label right there on the knot, and looks nice and clean like that. So we're happy with how that turned out. Take your time, take your patience, and whatever you need, take a few breaks in the middle. Now, thankfully, we had this other chair here, the one still assembled from the factory, to compare the positioning of the bottom seat here as we're putting it back on the chair. And you want to be careful really with the overhang. In our case, the Stakmore had another requirement, which was we needed to make sure the clearances were going to be the same with the seat bottom so that the folding mechanism would still work correctly. So we took a little bit of extra time here, lining it up side to side, front to back, checking the overhangs of this chair and the chair that hadn't been changed from the factory to make sure that we're getting it just about the same. So here we're trying to use a pencil to make the initial marks here. It may be, perhaps this is the marks for the screws. Maybe something like an awl or a punch or something like that could help you. So we did our best here. The challenge is going to be to get the screws in, we're going to need to flip the chair over again, or at least that's what we would recommend. And we want to keep it aligned during that process. So that was our best attempt there. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Maybe blue tape or something else to hold it still would also help. I think that would work well. And here we're just being very careful to hold it in exactly the same place as we set it back down. And here we are, we're about to pilot the holes for the screws here. You definitely want to do this so you don't get any splits in the wood, and match the length of your drill bit to the screw so that you don't screw through that nice upholstery that you just put back on the seat bottom there. All right, once you've piloted the holes, grab your screws, and it's time to finish this up and put it all back together. And we recommend keeping your drill on a low torque setting, just to be sure that you're not going to strip the screw out or, again, drill through too far into the material. Just really want to secure it in place, and while it's in use, gravity will do the rest. The Stakmore here has a few more screws simply because it's going to be folded up, and yours may have one or two more or one or fewer, just make sure you put them all back in and don't over tighten them. Okay, here we go. And let's compare apples to apples, or Stakmore to Stakmore here. And we feel we did a pretty good job. Again, the thickness of the replacement seat bottom is what you're going to want. And the same size, and take your time, have a lot of patience, have fun with it. And it's really rewarding to see the final result. And we're happy to have this chair back in service. And here's your final test. Yes, it can fold just like the factory chair. Plenty of clearance, no problem. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. And one more thing, you may have noticed this. There was this really sharp cutoff of the plywood. Don't ever store your plywood with a sharp edge like that. Cut it off. Throw it in your scrap pile for use as a shim or something like that. Thanks for watching. We hope you have a great day. Always stay safe and enjoy your projects around the house. Leave us a comment down below to let us know what kind of chair you fixed. Thank you.